And that whilst your purpose
that you've signed up to
changes, your
and we share together
changes from
is
time
to
time.
be your best in all you do.
And greatness can only be measured by the difference between before you showed up and after you showed up. If I look at the number of people whose lives have been transformed by your voice, that's how we measure your greatness. So today I want to look at the anatomy of wealth. Looking at the anatomy, and I'm hoping that somebody's getting something today. So I said to you, God blesses you in the spirit. You prosper in your soul, and then you, in a way, produce wealth through your hands. The Bible says, whatever he doeth. Now listen to this, guys. Hear this. Wealth is the capacity to produce riches. But riches is not just money. Money is one form of riches. Riches essentially is assets. And an asset is anything that you own that produces money to maintain you and to multiply itself. Please write that down. An asset is anything you own that gives you the power to maintain you and to multiply itself. Many of the things that we own are not assets, they are liabilities. A liability is anything you own that requires money from you to maintain itself. An asset is anything you own that gives money to you to maintain you and to multiply itself. So let me ask you, the car that you drive, is it an asset or a liability? Is it an asset or a liability? Can somebody please help me tell me? Just remember the definition. A liability is something you own, whether you acquired it by purchase, whether you inherited it, however you found it, however you got it. It takes money away from you to maintain itself. It requires money. The car you drive, the clothes you wear, are they assets or liabilities? Are they assets or liabilities? Somebody says it depends. It depends on if I'm wearing it to the office and I'm using it to make money. Whether you wear that particular cloth or not, what you wear does not necessarily increase how much you made that day. And I'm not saying that packaging does not enhance value. I will still be talking to you about that. I'm going to be talking to you in the course of these 6 days about the power of packaging. 1 day is just dedicated to packaging alone. But clothing are liability. Let me ask you one thing. The house that you live in, is it an asset or a liability? It depends. Temitope says, okay. Ngozi says it depends. All right. Okay. The house that you own, that you live in, is it an asset or a liability? Okay. Now we can have different ideas about it. In fact, I know that accounting will probably put, land and buildings on the asset side, but this is what it is. It depends on whether that place, as long as you are the one living in it and you are taking money to maintain that place. And here in Nigeria, you will pay many other charges. You pay, I know all across the world, you pay different levels of taxes. So even if you own it, you still have to pay land use charge. You still have to pay you have to pay your estate maintenance fees, depending on where it is. There are many, many taxes that you have to paint the house. You have to buy power. All of those things tell me that that house that you own, especially even if it's on mortgage, that house is a liability. But the house that you own, that you rent out, is that an asset or a liability? I'm just waiting. That's an asset. Okay, good. So it is not the house that you own that determines whether it's an asset or a liability. It is the use that you put that house to. You can own land and it can appreciate. And if that land is not bringing you any income, it is a liability. It's just that when you sell it off, you can now convert that liability into purchasing an asset, which means now the thing is going to make money for you. But you can also use that money to buy a liability. Or worst of all, to put it on an expense, like a wedding or chieftaincy title. Things that have, well, I mean, they may have meaning to the people who do it, but honestly, your marriage should be an asset. A wedding is an expense. But it's amazing how people put so much money on weddings and not put enough money onto the marriage. In fact, many people have put their marriage into debt just to be able to satisfy their fantasy of a wedding. There has not yet been any correlation between a big wedding and a happy home. Nobody has found the correlation yet. That the bigger the wedding, the happier the home. So, guys, God gives you power to get wealth, and wealth produces riches, and riches creates greater number of assets than your liabilities. So whenever you think about Abraham, and the Bible says Abraham became wealthy and Abraham became rich, and when they were going to talk about it, they said the man became very rich, and Abraham's riches were measured in cattle and camels and assets and servants. You see that all of these things were supposed to be the things that helps Abraham to produce riches, more assets, and money. So what is money? Money is just a unit of currency to acquire your desire. I'm going to say that again, just so that somebody gets that right. Money is a unit of currency that gives you the power to acquire your desire. You can have money and be poor, because poverty means you have more liabilities than assets. Okay? Our guest is in the house, my sister Chizo Malize, and I am so grateful. Right? Are you ready? So let me just use the next few minutes to wrap up this. So now please understand that when God gives you the power to get wealth, it is to confirm that he's not a liar, that he's not lying, that he's not a covenant breaker. But if you don't prosper, then God looks like a covenant breaker. He looks like somebody who's lying. He looks like as if he lied to our fathers of faith to say, listen, don't worry, I'll bless your children, and as if he didn't bless them. Let me also quickly say that God is committed to the highest level of wealth and riches and money for you. Why? Because we are told in the book of Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 17, and he said, instead of bronze, I will give you gold. And instead of iron, I will give you silver. And instead of wood, I will give you bronze. Now, What does this mean? It means that God is saying that for every level of transaction, there are two possibilities. There is value and there is superior value. That there is a way at which you can do stuff and what you deserve is bronze. But because there is a grace upon your life, blessing, that is translated into knowledge and understanding, branding, personal branding, kind of things you are going to learn, that instead of getting what you should have got, what everybody else would have gotten for what you did as bronze, you will get gold. And instead of getting iron, which is what you should have gotten normally, you can be positioned to get a superior value as silver. Instead of getting wood, which is what value should have been rewarded by, you can get bronze. Meaning that there is a difference between, listen to this, value and superior value. And God is saying to you that if you do it by yourself, you can get value. But if he rests his grace upon you, you can get superior value. Which is why on Sunday, the 28th, when Lanre Olushola and I are done, we are going to release the grace for superior value. Because let me be clear, there is the place of knowledge and understanding and tactics and methodology and strategy and but there is the place of favor. And when favor begins to speak on your behalf, people will appreciate you in greater proportions than your effort deserved. Remember that God was the one who promised the first personal brand when he said to Abraham, I will make your name great. There's a difference between name and a great name. And many times when you think about the people who carry great names, there are people whose names define their works, their industry. When I say to you boxing, who do you say? When I say to you boxing, whose name comes to your mind? Come on, give it to me quickly, please. Boxing. Float like a butterfly. Come on, boxing. Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is not only retired, he's dead. How can Muhammad Ali's name still be defining an industry when he's not even alive? Mike Tyson is retired. I know he's making some kind of comeback at some level, but he's essentially retired. Anthony Joshua just lost all 3 titles in one match. To who? To who? Who beat Anthony Joshua? You don't know. That tells you that it is not by skill. Because if it was skill, you should know the name of the person who defeated Anthony Joshua. If I asked you, who is the #1 golf? When I say golf, whose name comes to your mind? Come on, give it to me now. Give it to me very quickly. I'm bringing up my Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods he's not even #1. He's not even, I don't even think he's in the top 10 anymore. And yet his name still defines the industry. If I say female tennis, whose name comes to your mind? Female tennis. Serena. Serena is not even #1. So if I ask you who is #1 female tennis player right now in the world, who? You don't know. That tells you something. That it is not your position in the industry that determines whether your name is great. I will find out. Somebody has to find out before. Listen, you have only 5 minutes. 5 minutes of ignorance is all that can be tolerated. Can you imagine that? By now, somebody should have given me that answer by now. who is number one female tennis, number one in the world. Look, this is the point that I'm making, guys. When God gives you a great name, he rests the grace, also known as favor, upon your name. And that grace and favor rests upon your name and becomes a brand in the heart of the people. And it causes the people to be willing to bless you. And this is part of what it is I'm going to be talking to you guys about. David said something that was amazing, and it gives us a bit onto the heart of God as to why prosperity is such a big deal to God. He said, for the sake of your house, I will seek your prosperity. So let me be clear. God's house, God's agenda, God's kingdom requires silver and gold. In fact, not only does it require silver and gold, he ties his glory to what silver and gold can do. So he says, how many of you have seen the glory of this former house and compared it to the glory of the latter house? And then he says, the silver is mine, the gold is mine. He starts to speak about glory of his house in the same time as he's talking about silver and gold. But this is where it gets interesting. He didn't say the silver was mine, but now it's yours. He said the silver is mine, meaning that silver and gold remain under the ownership of God, but they can move from possession to possession in the hands of man. So you will never own silver, you will never own gold. Silver and gold always will belong to God. However, he can allow you to access it if you know the purpose for it. Ladies and gentlemen, when you come back, I'm going to be teaching you about the purpose of wealth, because wealth is a vehicle that is literally given to you to resource your assignment. Let me say it again. Wealth is a vehicle that is given to you to resource your assignment. Your assignment needs wealth. Your assignment needs silver. Your assignment needs gold. And I want you to please understand that the day you understand the purpose of silver and gold, you can be trusted. And once you can be trusted with wealth, the rest of it is history.